Yo, what's up, my relatives? Hope everyone's doing good out there. Kimichi Pili back again, Six on Riders. Just want to drop this hopefully quick video, just giving a quick breakdown or just a quick understanding of what I'm trying to do here on this channel. This is not a comprehensive breakdown, but I've made maybe about 5 videos in the last few weeks and been getting pretty good responses. So I just want to kind of break down some of my intention for this channel. So this channel is a channel I made years ago for Six Sun Riders, which is a website, an indigenous education website I made back in like 2012 maybe, so about 12 years ago now, going on 13. And so I made this channel like on YouTube maybe like I don't know 10 years ago, but I never really put any content on here. So I'm trying to kind of consolidate a lot of my work. Like I mentioned before, I do a lot of activism here in West LA area, Southern California, Los Angeles area. The main purpose of the Six Sun Riders website, I'm just going to give a quick overview. I'm going to do another video eventually breaking down more comprehensively what the Six Sun Riders project is about. But it's mainly the channel and the purpose of Six Sun Riders is to create an education avenue for Chicanos primarily, but I guess any maybe indigenous people trying to reconnect. I don't know, not reconnect. I don't like to use that word to recover and do away with the obstacles and the illusions mentally, spiritually, or otherwise that keep them from their true faith, their true indigenous face, their true indigenous essence. And a lot of these, Chicano, these indigenous education thing, it's rooted in Mesoamerican traditions, identity, worldview, and understandings. But also, I'm realizing as I'm doing these videos so far, and I'm just experimenting, I'm just kind of, like right now, I'm just touching on, I guess, just topics I'm seeing on social media a lot. And I felt like there's, instead of commenting on these videos or these topics, like let me just do my own videos and kind of clarify a lot of the again, the what I feel is a lack of a lot of good, knowledgeable, good intention people making videos and trying to do things, but a lot of inexperienced people and a lot of really misconceptions and just false information as far as like understanding who Chicano people are. Um, and again, there's different avenues of Mexican identity, I guess, Mexican indigenous identity, I guess you can say. And so I represent Pueblo Chicano, so that's my centric place that I'm coming from. But in making these videos, I'm realizing that there's a lot more people engaging, which is good, but they have like a very distorted understanding of self, and not trying to impose how people should identify, but like I mentioned in other videos before, how thick the colonization has been, right? So a lot of people are very hooked and invested in this mestizo identity and keeping up proximity to whiteness, right? In this case, Latinidad, Hispanidad, or even, maybe in the case of Chicanos, having the extra layer of the American Anglo colonization dynamic, um, you know, investing in their proximity to Anglo whiteness. So we got work to do. Eventually, I'm going to make content on here based off the website. Again, if you haven't been to my website, it's sixsunriders.com. You can, the link is in the button on the about. The link is in the caption and on the channel, and it's spelled out in the logo.com. But like I said, I had to kind of just get these topics off my mind and off my shoulders. And one thing about the website and the work that I try to do, I try to really cover a lot of the nuances that you don't really hear about in social media. A lot of times we hear a lot of bumper sticker type stuff, right? These popular mantras and like land back or Europeans illegal since 1492 and we didn't cross the borders crossed us, etc. Right? And these are good things, it's important that we understand and have that knowledge. But again, too, we all come from different walks of life and different ways that um, different situations and environments that we deal with. And it's more about, okay, how do we start to implement that? Like, for instance, I'm in West LA, right? A lot of the racial dynamics, the population here, it's very different from, let's say, places that are a lot more distinctly homogenized, right? Let's say like South Central or East LA, where it's a lot more like it's strictly, like 90% brown, or, 90% brown and black. We all, and this is just LA, we got, all across the Southwest. It's different dynamics in OC, Orange County, maybe even like up by Fresno and Arizona and Tejas. And just, there's so Mexicans, are taking over everywhere. So there's a lot of different dynamics politically, racially that we have to deal with. So this is, a lot of it's to kind of um, offer advice and guidance on how to implement things wherever we might be. And one of the secondary intentions is for those, and not everybody's going to be an activist per se, although, whether we like it or not, and I mentioned this before, is that as Indigenous people, whether or not we identify as Indigenous people, um, we're on occupied land. Whether you understand that from a Mexican point of view or an Indigenous point of view, which I guess it overlaps because there's a lot of people who understand the basic identity concepts of what it means to be a Mexican, but at the same time, a lot of folks don't always connect it to um, indigeneity, right? So that's why I'm saying Mexican and indigenous. Another intention is that there's just way too much garbage out there, garbage content. Um, I'm all down for people trying to get their money and do positive things, but there's just a over inundation of Chicano content out there that's just very kind of just gang related. It's just very cliche, and it really focuses on the gang culture, which that's a part of our a dynamic of our neighborhoods and our barrios. But there's so much more to our people than just gang banging and kind of low key glorifying a lot of that ignorance. And then there's also these other cats doing Chicano stuff, and they're kind of acknowledging that they don't I say, like, they're being critical of the gangster cliche and ignorance as well, but at the same time they don't seem very informed on Chicano culture as it connects in the indigenous timeline. A lot of times they talk about Chicano culture, but strictly in the immediate, like, let's say the last 100 years, if that, right? So when I talk about Chicanismo and Chicano identity, Chicano indigenous identity, I'm connecting it as a um, extension of the indigenous timeline that got interrupted, and at least for us Mexican area people, back in 1520 or 1519 or whenever Cortez and all his little dirty ass fools landed. And a lot of that, Chicano, like the gangster stuff, it's entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of like this kind of gangster hip hop drama. A lot of it I don't really relate to. I'm 49. I'm about to be 50 in a couple months, and a lot of this newer hip hop kind of stuff. I don't, the only reason I hear about a lot of these hip hop cats or just because of these videos or whatever. Other than that, like, I don't, I heard some of the music. Most of it's garbage. Not to diss, but I just don't relate to a lot of it. There needs to be a more, not so much serious, but a more conscious and realistic representation of Chicano perspectives, in Chicano indigenous perspectives, indigenous takes, coming from a Chicano Mesoamerican worldview. And I'm also noticing that some of these other Chicanos who are, it seeming like they're trying to lean away from the ignorant dynamics of gangster culture, of cholo culture, I guess you can say. They're on some, like, a lot of times, like, they're Christian, and no disrespect to people who found different spiritual ways, and they're doing good and a lot better than what they were doing before they had a destructive lifestyle or whatever. But a lot of times when they get into Christianity, a lot of times they adopt this very kind of American, patriotic, loyalty, right? So even though they might have a lot of Chicano experience and knowledge, a lot of it's very disconnected from the needs we have as people who've been generation who have generational trauma, um, based off our indigeneity, based off what's happened to us on our indigenous timeline. But again, I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Like I said, I've been getting a good reception here, and the content's only gonna improve. It's a learning curve, this production stuff, the video editing, and at the same time doing presentation and knowing how to present ideas and present like teachings, lessons, and communicating. There's a whole science to it too, so it's a learning curve doing that as well. And I appreciate all the feedback. I do try to engage with people in the comment section, and I thank all those who have offered additional insights to any blind spots or just information I just might have forgot to mention, or just angles I wasn't thinking about. And again, a lot of the content I make is topics that have been circulating for the most part. At least right now, that's what I'm doing. But we're gonna get into some of the lessons and some of the topics I have on the website as well. But a lot of it is to start conversation too. Some of these tougher Anglo conversations, like some of my video, I mentioned things about understanding white supremacy dynamics and how it shape shifts and how it manifests in our communities and our activism circles. I mentioned things about LGBTQ dynamics, Latinx dynamics. I would touch on racial issues, Black and Chicano, Black and Indigenous issues, and get into more of these nuanced conversations that move beyond pomp and circumstance, the very kind of bumper sticker posturing and discourse that I mostly see dominating social media and a lot of these videos. And also, I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm not too sure if I did, but I'm going to repeat again in case I didn't say it too. But it's also me as an activist who's worked many fronts. I've been in local government, neighborhood councils. I've done spiritual events, speak in classrooms, militant organizing, educational organizing, online websites, a lot of different fronts that I've been blessed to work with and people I've been blessed to work with. And so, again, mistakes made, hard lessons learned. And so I'm hoping to, relay a lot of those lessons and practical advice and templates, maybe, I guess, for how to move and implement our indigeneity, right? Because it's one thing to be mad and to go protest and have our fist in the air and rock our dope indigenous clothing or regalias, or just our dope t-shirts and our cultural representation like this too. But it's also important that we learn how to implement it wherever we're at, in whatever way we can, whether it's events that we do or in our communities or in the schools that we work with or where our kids are at and things of that nature. And we're also doing a lot of upgrades to the Six Sun Riders project. Like I said before, there's a lot of it's been on the back burner because I've been really dedicated to a lot of local anti-gentrification and anti-racism activism out here in West LA and in Venice. So that's taking up a lot of my time, but I'm kind of free of a lot of that. I'm always involved in stuff in some way, but I'm focusing back on the indigenous education because I really feel that's important. Chicano indigenous needs to mobilize and Chicanos need to mobilize, but more so on an indigenous tip, not on a mestizo American assimilation tip. Again, it's all learning curve. I'm trying to build my life around doing this stuff. It's a lot of fun. My heart's in it, and there's a lot of things going on in my life, but I think this is really important to do. There's a lot of things out there that aren't being said, topics aren't being covered, and we need to really have some sincere and helpful offerings that are going to lift us up and move us beyond this cliche, white gaze, stereotypical content and ignorance. And if there's any topics or things that come up that you're curious about, just, scenarios you might be in, or topics, whether locally in your area or going on nationally, internationally, that you might want to have like an indigenous Chicano take on it. Feel free to message me and let me know, and we'll cover it again. But thanks for your time. Thanks for being here, and see you on the next video.